From every strand on the line of your reel, to the rods, to the anglers, to the lures on the end of your hook, let's talk about those big bass here on Co-Angler's Corner with your hosts, Rob Welch and John Stoudinger.
Good evening, everybody. I'm John.
How y'all are? Cajun Rob here hanging out with you on a stormy night in Kentucky. As Elvis would say, cold Kentucky rain.
Is it raining or what?
Yeah, my field's underwater. I think I'm going to go kayaking on it tomorrow.
There you go. I can't blame you there.
Yeah.
Well, you're in better shape than my buddy up north.
Yeah.
He sent me a picture, and he was on his garage roof, and the snow was over his knees, and he's about 6'1".
Jeez. He can have that.
Yes, sir. Not too bad for 40. You know, it's about an hour away from me where he's at, and I might have an inch.
Wow, that's crazy.
Oh, it's great. But
yeah.
Anyways, we brought back Tom Presnell. He's a friend of mine. He's knows a lot about fishing. He knows a lot about sponsorship. He actually has a company called Avid Angler Promotions, where he will do whatever you need to try to get you set up for sponsorship. You just have to work with him and go at it from there. So let's bring Tom on stage.
Absolutely.
Good evening,
Tom.
sir.
Howdy, guys. How y'all doing?
Doing good.
Doing well. Thanks.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for agreeing to come on.
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah, because I mean, sponsorship's a tough topic, because no two people do it the same.
Yep.
But,
yep. Well, I mean, it definitely is a commitment, and you really need to come up with a plan if you want to get serious about being a competitive angler. A lot of guys come to me because they're looking to offset their expenses, whether it's entry fees or lodging, fuel. You guys know, just anything you do at a tournament costs money. You got to pay to play.
Absolutely.
So what I do to try to help people out is basically collect as much information about them as I can. I try to focus on their strengths and put together a nice graphic portrait of them as a person, as an angler, and create a resume, cover letter. I do sponsorship proposals. I do boat and truck wrap pages. I do social media pages. I've even done PowerPoint presentations for people, to show what they can do for a potential sponsor. So if you're going to get into the game, you got to learn how to do that stuff. And, you got to be your own best salesman, and you got to sell yourself and more importantly, sell what you can do for, any sponsor, whether it be potential or one that you already have.
Well, absolutely. And it seems like the industry's always moving. I know you have to kind of keep up with the trends and whatnot. So I know that's a moving target as well.
Absolutely. And, I've noticed over the years that, they just really don't have the budgets that they used to, 10 or 15 years ago. I've even spoken with some pros. I have a handful of pros as clients that are at the top level. And even they have talked about how, the days of someone just writing you a check, are over. And that kind of started fizzling out. I forget when they had that, what was it, 2008,
2010.
Yeah, the stock market thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That was right about the time where that stuff, started to really fizzle out. And, all the big names, were having tougher times, getting, big deals going. But, in this day and age, you really just need to have a good combination of some success on the water,
yep,
and the ability to promote. And those are the two most important things that, anybody that wants to dive into this, you really need to work at. It's not something you can just passively sit around and allow to happen, because, people are not going to be throwing money at you if you're not going to do something for them.
Absolutely.
It's not a strip club.
Nope.
Nope.
Yes, I did go there already. No, Tom, I appreciate everything you've done for us, the New York Federation. You know what you've done for the Federation can't even be thanks enough. And just watching you do some of your work,
There we go.
There you go. All right.
you know, and we had Paco Taco on a while back. Frank
Frankie?
Geiner. And,
Yeah.
and I have
very
I
good
have
friend
the
of mine.
I have the article or the magazine with him and I in it. So
Oh, that's
Nice.
right. That was the same year you were Angler of the
Yep.
Year on the co-angler side. That's right.
Yep.
Cool.
But as much as we'd like to sit here and just BS and talk about me, all right, maybe not me, but let's get into some sponsorship talk.
Sure.
All right. Now you brought something up. What do you like in today's day and age of sponsorship? What do you think is more important, angling or being able to market and promote?
That's a question that I get on a regular basis, and the short answer is it's good to be kind of good at both. You know, if you have
Yeah.
a decent amount of on the water success, it proves that, hey, you know what, you can kind of hold your own on the water. And then if you're also, you know, pretty good with you know, promotional work, you know, kind of making a name for yourself and associating yourself with, you know, specific product, you know, that's always good. However, I have a lot of clients that are either good at one or good at the other. And in my opinion, that if you want to, you know, continue to fish in a league or leagues and offset your expenses, I really think that being a salesperson or you know, really good marketer actually trumps having on the water success. Um, Again, you know, I'll stress that having some of each is really good, but the ability to sell, you know, I mean, let's face it, the bottom line is sale. You're trying to generate sales for whoever it is, whether it's a product or a service. And you know, I've had a couple of guys that have literally like a list of accomplishments that are a page long, but when you ask them questions, maybe they're just good old boys or whatever. There's nothing wrong with them. They're just good old boy. You ask them
Yep.
questions and they just give you one word answers, and you're like,
Yep.
gosh, you know, you can't work with that.
Yeah.
You know, you got to be able to, you know, elaborate on what it is that, you know, you're using on behalf of your sponsor, and you have to be able to articulate, you know, what it is that's so good about it, and the reason why you're using it, or if it's a service, why somebody should use that service. So,
Yeah.
but I've gotten, you know, clients from every walk of life, all over the country. You know, anywhere from high school anglers, college anglers, you know, to the regional leagues, to all the way up to the top, you know, 2 tiers of professional bass fishing. And the formula is the same. You know, it's just on a greater scale or a lesser scale. And you know, the bottom line is, you guys, I'm sure have heard this many times, is ROI, return on investment.
Yep.
Um, and you know, if you want to play the game, you really got to participate and you really got to hustle, especially nowadays. Like you just touched on how, you know, I like to say there's always a little piece, a little slice of the pie for everybody,
Yep.
but the guys who hustle get that bigger piece.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know if I answered your question, John.
No, you did, and
You did.
you actually, whoa,
Oh boy.
went in the more.
Oh, careful now.
I almost shrunk a little more. No, you and Tom, you know me. I don't need to shrink. So, but no, you did a great job of answering it.
Yep.
And one of the things I do appreciate you is you're not a one-word answer type of guy. You'll explain something so that even a dummy like me can understand it. You know.
Well, my dad, God bless, he's still kicking. He's 90 something. He's
Wow.
at 90, and he was a preacher. And I like to think that, maybe I got my gift of gab, from him. But the bottom line is, I try to get to know people,
Yeah.
for who they are. And whenever I create their materials, I never ever like, one of my strengths is the writing aspect of what I do. Both composing a cover letter, filling in the resume, with all their strengths and basically all their bullet points.
Yep.
And one of the things that I always try not to do is make it sound so grandiose, like you're applying for a corporate job. And it's not that, none of these guys are intelligent. A lot of these guys are very intelligent. They're
Yeah.
just not well spoken.
Yeah.
So I try my best to really, cater to each person and their personality and try to let that show through. I think that's important because, people are not, I mean, these sponsors aren't dumb. They'll read something and they can tell whether it was written by someone else or not. So,
Yeah.
so I try my best to really, incorporate elements of each angler's personality. So, I mean, this last couple of years, I've been fortunate. I actually got a couple of female clients, and I'll tell you what, those two are probably two of the best marketers out there. So,
Okay.
they're really, in it wholeheartedly. I mean, one is in sales, and the other one is retired and has a lot of time and does a lot of volunteer work, and she's recognized for her volunteer work. So, and she just said, "Oh, everybody keeps asking me for a resume, and I don't have one." So here I am. So,
Yeah.
but it was a pleasure, working with those two, women. It was, they're a significant portion of, tournament angling. Um, there should be more out there, but, it's kind of tough for them. And I know it's difficult being on a boat for 8 hours and having to worry about having to pee.
Yeah.
So, they all have their own solutions for that. But, so yeah, I'm again, I start talking and hopefully I stayed on point, John.
Oh, you
No,
did, man.
you're
Did a good
good.
job.
Yeah. All right, Rob, you got any questions?
Yeah, talking about the women in fishing on the BFLs and Toyotas, I'm seeing more and more kind of feeding from the high school and the college ranks. So, start to see more and more ladies out there, and we have them, Mondays, and that's I think one of our more successful nights is having the ladies
Yeah.
on there, and and you tell they have a passion for the sport, have a passion for fishing, and that comes through when they're on the podcast for sure. A good
Yep.
point.
I think I've watched one or two of those that you guys put. I've either seen a portion of it or watched the whole thing. And you had someone on real recently, female. I believe she had like a super heavy Southern accent. I can't remember her name, but does that ring a bell?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
I can't. I can't.
Jen Nolan was on
Yeah.
last week or the week before talking
Yep.
about branding.
Okay.
Yep.
I just remember, I came up on it. I think it was on Facebook, and I was like, started to listen in for a little bit, and then I had to run. But
Yep. But yeah, they do an awesome job. Like I said, sales and marketing and promoting. Yeah, there's some superstars over there on the ladies' side.
well, and the thing that I liked about working with them too is it, kind of gave me a different palette to work
Yeah.
with. I know, I'm trying to remember the one woman. I believe she was a guest on your show.
Yes.
Well, gosh, what was her name?
Pam.
Oh, well, Pam. Yeah, she was, and I
Pamela.
think you had another one too. I can't remember, but anyway, uh, I was able to, I mean, I know, John, you like using magenta in your jerseys to stand out.
Yep.
But she went with pink. Not Pam didn't, but
No.
the other one did.
Yep.
Went with pink, and she's like, yeah, it's kind of my trademark.
Yeah.
And she was a co-angler. And I think she actually became a boater this year. So,
Oh, cool.
yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I've had pink for probably 6-7 years now, and well, actually, I took it last year off, or the year before off, and went to red, white, and blue, and people said they had a hard time finding me because I didn't. They see the look for the pig. I said, well, you just don't look for the short, bald, fat guy. You'll find me.
Well,
And one guy said, well, that's about 75% of the anglers out there.
Yeah. Well, you're a veteran. We can
Yep.
go with the red, white, and blue.
There you go.
And
Absolutely.
So, how do you the sponsorship? How's it evolved? Getting sponsors, how's it evolved over the years that you see?
Well, I think social media has changed the game.
Oh, yeah.
In maybe 10, 15 years ago, it was all about, the trade shows, meeting people in person, basically introducing yourself and, trying to express your interest in, the company and what you could do for them.
Yep.
A lot of letter writing. But social media has really, really changed the game. I look at it as both a blessing and a curse, because it does give you several avenues to promote a company that is sponsoring you. But on the other hand, they can also offer a 10% discount to some teenagers, or who are great on social media, and they basically are doing all their advertising for free, because 10% is nothing for them. So and really what that does is that kind of puts a dent in what's available for a serious angler, somebody especially at the pro level. And that's my take on it. I don't know if you guys have kind of witnessed it. I think we're all the same age, so we've kind of seen the evolution of how that's all come about. And I was going pretty good on social media for a while, and then the last 2 years I probably tapered off on my usage just because of life, whether it's work or my folks are getting old now, or end of life type stuff now. So my priorities change, but I still try to do what I can for just the 2 or 3 companies that I personally work with.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I could sit down for 2 hours and make a year's full of content for a company.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just I don't, because to me to me it's not genuine. I want to be genuine with it. I don't want to sit there having a script go. Okay, the cat was,
Yeah.
Well, that was one of the things that you mentioned to me that maybe we could touch on, John, was the authenticity of the type of work that you're doing for them. I mean, I'm sure you've both seen people on social media that look like they're just going through the motions, and not necessarily reading off of a script, but you can just tell that, hey, maybe their heart isn't in it, and maybe they don't 100% use this product, and therefore it kind of shows through their demeanor. I can always pick those people out. But what I love is when I see guys that are like really, really enthusiastic and do well with their product. I mean, boats and stuff like that, those are the big ticket items. I mean, who doesn't want a good deal on a boat? I mean, I think anybody would be happy to do that. But I'm talking more about products that maybe you're going to review on social media. But the authenticity and the I forget the word that you used, John. I'm trying to see.
Let me think. I wrote these questions down like last week, or actually it was for the first when we were supposed to be on, and then relationship. Nope.
Well, you use the word authenticity.
Yes.
You said, what role does it play in securing sponsorships? So, and I'm sure that anybody on the receiving end of a company who's been contacted by an angler, they can smell BS,
Oh
from a
yeah.
mile away. And, especially if they're in, the marketing division of their company. I mean, I'm sure they get approached hundreds, if not thousands of times a year. So, you know, and I'll just touch on what I do a little bit in response to that is that what I do is I try to make people noticeable and stand out. I mean, my job is to make them look as good as possible on paper,
Yeah.
without lying or making
Yeah.
anything up. Um, but the whole key is to get noticed,
Oh yeah.
and that's what I refer to. Getting noticed is the uh, equation or equates to getting your foot in the door.
Yep.
The first thing to do is get noticed, and then hopefully that'll lead to a conversation you can have with somebody who actually pulls the strings when it comes to, marketing budgets and product, things like that. So,
Absolutely. And another thing I've noticed on some pro staff apps now, it'll say, "Have you used our product? What have you used?" I notice that's starting to pop up now.
yeah, I don't doubt it. Yeah, because
And
I was just
oh,
gonna say
sorry, Tom.
they're trying to filter out, the
Yeah.
people that they'll know.
Yeah. At least you
Yeah,
know the product, what the yeah. But I've noticed that lately. That's a trend I've kind of noticed over the
I
last
mean,
year or two.
it's no secret. I have MGM call tags, and I have people reaching out to me who've never even tried them.
You know.
They want. One person says, "I can grow your business exponentially." I need this and that and this and that. I sent them back. I don't need you.
Hmm.
But
Yep.
yeah, it's crazy how. I mean, I think anybody with a computer and half a brain tries to get sponsorship.
Oh yeah. Or
Well, you may not be surprised to learn, but some of the clients I have that are, I wouldn't say at the top level, but maybe the mid level to
Mhm.
in between. Some of these guys work entirely off their phones,
yeah.
and it's
Yes.
just astounding to me how they do it. Like one of the things that I do when I first connect with a client is I send them a lengthy questionnaire where I basically have a whole bunch of questions. It's not only about their accomplishments, but it's also personality
Yeah.
questions. It's like what are their tastes when it comes to color combinations, or because I try to cater to that when I'm
Yeah.
creating the resume through the artwork. And what's funny is like I'll say, okay, well, I'm going to send you the questionnaire now. Do you have Microsoft Word? And they're like, well, no, I kind of do everything through my phone. And I have Apple Pages, and I also can send them a PDF, and they can just
Yeah.
reply in email. So those guys have to read the PDF file and just reply to me in an email. So, but it's really kind of funny. I'm just shocked that people are at that level and they don't even have a laptop. So
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's hard to
Um,
read a little screen like that. I
yeah, I
mean, that's
know.
wow.
I
if
can't.
you're if you're in marketing or anything like that, I believe you have to have some sort of computer
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
and not just a cell phone.
Yeah, even like doing Facebook, I notice. I do on my phone a lot of times, but I go to my laptop. It's like, wow, there's a whole bunch of different stuff I never see on my phone. So
Yeah.
it's not,
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to do the thumbnails for a show on my phone, and no, not doing that again.
yep, a little challenging.
Yeah.
What are some of the misconceptions people have about sponsors,
Well,
sponsorships?
I think the biggest misconception is that just the fact that you've made a contact at a sponsor or a potential sponsor, they're not just going to throw money at you for wearing a logo on their jersey. I mean,
Yeah,
you got to hustle. And I try to tell every client that I work with, before you even take that first step and reach out to somebody, have a plan. Have
yeah,
a plan written down, or if it's an email, compose a concise email and just say, I don't even want to talk, money or product right now, but this is what I am willing to do for you.
Yeah.
And I have talked to a couple of companies where they have told me, they said that that approach is refreshing.
Yeah.
So for someone to actually have put the time in ahead of time before they reach out to them and, say, here, here's my hand, what can you give me? But I think, you know, people are not that naive that they don't expect to get money thrown out. The only people that really get a paycheck are the top anglers that have a Forest Wood Cup or a Bassmaster Classic win or AOI win or whatever it may be. Those people get a paycheck from the Strike Kings of the world. um, but the average angler isn't going to get that. I mean, even a lot of the pros don't get a paycheck from a company just for being on their staff. But
No.
so my recommendation is definitely have a plan ready to go, and the more creative the plan is, and the more maybe a little bit off the beaten path it is, the more it might interest them.
Yeah.
I've even had, one or two guys say, you know what, I'm not even going to ask for anything. I'm going to do this for you for my first season. And if we can gauge, how much, and it could come down to social media likes, it could come down to a special discount code that, is directed right back to them, so they could track the sales. So, I mean, I've literally had one or two guys that have said, I'm not going to ask for anything. I just want to show you what I can do. And then what happens is the following season, that puts them in a really good position to, ask for something significant. So, I mean, I know there's a lot of young anglers out there that, you know, thinks their doo-doo doesn't stink, and just because they put the logo on their shirt or their boat wrap, um, that companies are going to give them anything that they're asking for. But now, granted, in the college ranks, there are a lot of companies that like to get embedded in that at that early stage and develop that brand recognition so that they kind of carry it through if they do end up trying to fish higher levels after college. um, but the overall, I would say, misconception is that you can't just get ask them for a discount code and call it a sponsor. Like I tell everybody that a 10 or 20% off just to do some social media posts is not a true sponsorship. I mean, I would say at least 50% off or free. That's
Yeah.
a true sponsorship, and we're not even talking money yet. We're just talking product. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, we all know. I mean, we've all collected, small relationships like that where, hey, you know what, someone just is a friend, or you've shown interest in their product or used the product for years. Let's say, I'm just going to offer you that courtesy 20% off. That's still great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a true sponsorship is a lot more meaningful than that. And, both sides have to kind of come through, in order for it to, basically save you that money, or, cut down on your expenses. So
Yeah.
Absolutely.
My brother.
what do you guys think, people are, let's just say, misunderstand?
Well, I have a lot of high schoolers say, "Hey, I'm on the high school fishing team. When do I get my free boat?" And I'm just like, I'm just, it don't work that way, man. I hate to tell you.
Is the only, as soon as your parents buy
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
For me, misconceptions are on both sides, actually. You got these companies, and I talked to you about this before the show, uh, who use the discount for their advertising. And then when you try to advance up, they set the bar so high that you're not going to be able to attain it.
Yeah, yeah.
So that for me is a misconception in the fact that you do your, you're told, work hard, do your best, good things will happen. Well, it's not always the truth.
Yeah.
and, and as far as on the sponsee side, as far as misconceptions, um, I don't think I have that many. I just, it's hard. Not every. It's not all. It's not cookie cutter. Every
Yeah.
person wants something different, and
Yeah.
trying to figure out where to put yourself to get to there.
Yep. Yep.
So
Well, I'll tell you, this is related to this, but a little bit off the point. But one of the things that I can, or I've assisted people with, people who've gone through, what I do for them, the resume, the cover letter, whatever it may be, and they say, I've got an interested party, but they seem to be, kind of stubborn on, what they're going to do for me because they don't know me, they don't know my
yeah,
my abilities. So I always tell them, come up with an if then contract. And what I mean by that is just say, okay, how about this? How about if I make, if I have a podium finish, or if I, make Angler of the Year, or if I make top 10, or if I qualify for the Bass Pro Tour or the Elites or whatever it may be. So this year, you know, you just give me, I don't know, 10 rods and 10 reels, or whatever it may be. If I qualify for that bigger tier tournaments, you have it in writing that not only are you going to get the 10 rods and 10 reels, maybe you get 15 and 15 and 5 or 10 grand.
Yep.
So, after you've proved yourself that, you can, definitely bring that exposure to the company. So, and that interests a lot of people because, it doesn't cost them anything, up front as far as, the sponsors concerned, because I mean, they can just write off the equipment. That's not a
Yep.
big deal,
yeah,
as a business expense. But as far as money, then they can just basically say, okay, well, now it's on the angler. It's totally on the angler. It's up to them. And it's worked out for, a handful of guys that I've helped out. So, and
Yeah.
they're like, boy, yeah, I wish I'd thought of that. And, I'm not going to recommend it to everybody because, sometimes you really got to cut your teeth on a big tour, before you start seeing some success. And yes, there are those people that, do great right out of the gate. But for the most part, people really have to establish themselves and you know, kind of work their way up the ranks. But anyway, so that if then contract is a nice little tool to have in your back pocket.
Yeah. Absolutely. And a goal gives you a goal.
Mm-hmm. And
so I can
it
go out.
motivates you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I can go out and say, if I complete a whole series, can you give me 15 grand?
Yeah.
Mm.
It won't work, but hey.
Yeah.
Hard to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing about sponsorship too is be prepared to hear the 2-letter word men get told a lot. No.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
no's gonna be a big word.
Oh
and
yeah.
and the other thing is, don't think that you can get the Abu Garcias of the world and the Strike Kings of the world, right off the bat. I mean, try to think of things you can go after right in your own backyard. Start there. Then
Yep.
maybe go, in the regional area, see what you can find there. Sometimes at the trade shows, there's some up and coming tackle companies. Sometimes it's not even tackle companies. It could be boat insurance or,
Yeah.
Dog
um,
food.
yeah, I mean, I have one guy that got an oil company because
Yep.
they wanted the exposure on his boat and his truck because he travels all over, the Northeast,
Yeah.
and they wanted to expand their territory. So for them, that was, great advertising.
Yep.
Oh
So,
yeah.
and that
And
that's thinking outside the box a little bit. And
Yep.
for the people who are not high up in the ranks of whatever tour, those are some good options.
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's brand awareness and like a mobile
Mhm.
billboard. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, and I used to have some statistics from I think it's like the United Truckers Association or
Yeah.
something like that. I think my statistics are really outdated, but the number of views, on the highway, like per year or whatever it may be, it's incredible. It's
Oh yeah.
absolutely incredible. And that, I also tell people too that one of the most important spots on your truck is actually the back,
Yep.
because
Yep.
a lot of people follow you and, maybe, they don't see the side, but if you're towing a boat, might be a little harder,
Yep.
but if you're just driving around in a truck, that rear position is one of the most visible positions. So,
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
I had a couple years ago. I had a landfill sponsor, our local landfill, and he's like, and when I was talking to him about where he wanted it, he's like, I don't know. Where do you suggest? I said, on the back. He's like, why? I go, because somebody's driving behind you. They're going to read
Yeah.
what that says.
Or,
Yeah.
or parked when you're parked. It
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. And I used to do my windows with me and my bait companies and stuff like that. And a lot of people come up to the truck and say how neat it is and stuff. All right,
Cool.
and Andrew, let's get to Andrew here.
All right. Let's see. We got Mr. May here first. We'll knock a couple out
Oh,
here.
yeah. Andrew says, "Hello, gentlemen," and he likes to barter with. Oh, he likes to barter
Sure.
with cookies.
Yep.
Andrew says, "Hey, happy. We'll make it Saturday."
Yeah, he corrected himself.
Yeah,
He's
he did.
good.
He did. And then he says, his advice is it helps to start with small companies and be on pro staff and learn how to promote companies. As your career moves on, if you fish well, bigger companies will recognize the work you did.
Absolutely.
Good point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
Yep. And it
I mean,
helps
I
you in
should-
the future, the network too.
Mhm. Well, and just even going through the motions, and like you said, John, getting the rejections, but keeping your head up and then going on to the next one. When you start with those smaller companies, you start to develop your resume, and as that resume builds, it shows that hey, maybe you're doing something right, and you're
Yep.
attractive to a larger company.
Oh, absolutely. And put down like if you work for a small sponsor at a trade show or like a fishing expo. I mean, write that down. That's experience, and that counts a lot.
Yeah.
I've actually had companies ask for references.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I don't. I guess it's just like
it's a job.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, that was one of my points on one of the other questions that you asked me before
Yep.
we got on air was, the strategies, and I tell people that you really need to treat it like a second job. I mean, I work full time. I don't know if you guys do,
Oh yeah.
but
Yep.
you got to treat it like a second job, like a side job, and especially if you're a pro, that's all encompassing, under the same roof. Not only you out there practicing, competing, but you got to get on and take care of the people that are taking care of you.
Absolutely.
So there's, unless you're a millionaire already, there's very few people that can do it without, some type of backing.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm gonna have Rob adopt me so I can use his money to back me.
You gonna starve, brother. You gonna starve. I got enough mouths to feed, man.
Now, maybe if we all pool our money, we can get some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
There you go. There you go.
Hey, I take them on the boat. How can anglers position themselves for sponsorship?
How can they position themselves? Well, I guess you have to really adopt a can-do mentality. I think the biggest thing too is you need to be prepared. You got to have the right materials in hand in order to approach, any type of company. And when you say position yourself, I mean that could mean 100 things, but
Yeah.
for the most part, you really got to concentrate on researching the companies that you want to go after, because you certainly don't want to be talking to them. Like you said, Rob, they ask you, what products of ours are you using?
Yeah.
That's a key thing right there.
Oh,
So, one of the things people really need to do is research the company, find out I know it's getting harder and harder every year, but find out who the key people are.
Yeah.
I know an owner is probably not going to return an email unless it's a, smaller company, maybe.
Yeah.
Yep.
But, try to find out who the key people are. And, trade shows are usually the best place to find
Yep.
the actual marketing people, because that's their bread and butter.
Oh, yeah.
And, you generally, when you walk up to those booths, some of them hire independent people to work for them because they don't want to do the travel. But for the most part, you are going to bump into, either partners or marketing people. But I would say, be prepared, do your research, for, whatever it is you think you're going to target or go after. Have your materials ready, at the ready, have them up to date,
Yep.
and have them ready. Don't have any typos on
Yep.
it. I mean, I've had people where I do this on a regular basis. I'd say 1 in 3 resumes that I work on, when I get the questionnaire that I send to my clients back to do their resumes, I go and double check the companies that maybe already sponsor them, or they're
Yep.
looking to go after, or even the names of the tours that they're fishing, and they're spelled wrong. So,
Oh, man.
Now,
one of the things I do on a regular basis is I look that stuff up and make sure it's correct.
Oh, yeah. Cross your T's, dot your I's.
Yep.
two of the most common ones are Humminbird Electronics,
Yep.
and
Yep.
and because there's no G in it, and Phoenix Rods. There's no O in
Yep.
it.
Yep.
So,
Well, and the other is, Bassmaster. A lot of the old school guys still say Bassmasters,
Yep.
which,
Yep.
if you go back and look at some old footage, that's what Ray Scott had, but they
Yeah.
changed it over. I don't know if it was in the late 80s or whatever, but it's
Yeah.
Bassmaster Elite
Yep.
Series, Bassmaster Opens. So I correct that on a regular basis, because a lot of time when I do the resumes for people, I usually put the logos of the tour or tours that they fish up at the top of their logos with their photo. And,
Cool.
it just kind of shows the level. It represents the level that they're fishing, so people can recognize it right away.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Let's go to Andrew here. He's got
All right.
one or two other ones. He says, winning and cutting checks will get the attention you also want. Your competitors remember who beat them. Some of them own companies.
Yep. Oh, yeah, definitely.
We were talking about one before the show.
Yep.
ICAST was awesome. Last year was the first time I was able to go. I was a kid in a candy store. All the pros were there. All the social media personalities, too. Great time.
Absolutely.
I bet.
Great time to network and connect and introduce yourself to companies you're interested in. Ask them, about their products, new products coming out. But they see you at a few shows and they recognize you. Hey, I remember seeing you last show. So
Yep.
I've learned that.
Well, I haven't had the pleasure of going to an ICAST, but I've worked 3 Bassmaster Classic expos and 2 Forcewood Cup expos. So
Yep.
the company I worked with at the Forcewood Cup expos was an app for tournaments, for small club tournaments, called At the Ramp.
Yeah.
And it was a fantastic app, and it worked great for our club. Our club was actually one of the beta testers for it.
Cool.
And I got to know the guy, and then he just invited me. He says, I really need someone like you at the booth with me. So I got to go down and hang out, 2 years in a row for that. And unfortunately, he had to shut down his server because he had to take over his family business, and he didn't have
Yeah.
time to work with it anymore. So, but
Yeah.
it's a shame because it worked great.
Yeah.
But anyway, as was mentioned by the guys watching the ICAST, any of the major the Forcewood Cup or Bassmaster Open expos, fantastic. I mean,
Yeah.
I know what he's talking about. Kid in a candy store. I mean,
yeah.
I usually try to, if I'm not working it, or if I am working it, I try to give myself some time to wander around, and like, you
Yep.
usually get a break. But it is a good place, and I have picked up. John, you mentioned the New York, Bass Nation earlier.
Yep.
And years ago, back in the mid 2000s, I was able to get some sponsors for the New York Nation doing that, and it was really great because even to this day, some of those relationships still exist. Like I still keep in touch with some of those people.
Yeah.
So, and then we also used a number of them for the advertisers for the magazine that we were doing too. So, so it was great. Great experience to go down there. I remember usually by the third day, I would lose my voice.
Yep. Yeah, that happens.
Yep.
But
Would you say spelling is one of the most critical aspects of the resume? Most errors?
Well, I wouldn't say the most. I mean, obviously, you don't want to have anything misspelled, but syntax and sentence structure and just basically good common English, is good to have all that stuff, polished, I guess is a better
Yeah.
word. So, it I I tend to write sort of in the middle between a business letter and a very, very friendly format. I try to do
Yeah.
it somewhere in the middle, because clearly a lot of these anglers, uh, are not working in a corporate environment,
Yeah.
and maybe not familiar with, the lingo or the format or whatever. But and then I just try to keep it at a level where it does flatter them, but it doesn't sound
Yeah.
too grandiose.
Yeah.
Good point.
Andrew says he needs to make more expos. He lives down near Harris Chain in Toho.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Andrew,
well,
come
does
come
Andrew
up
have
to
a
Knoxville.
does Andrew have a room that I could have, for the night?
I know some buddies up here that'll let you stay, Tom. You just got to help shovel.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. I've had enough of that. I've had more snow than John. How's that possible?
I think I've had more snow than John too.
Man, that ain't
So,
right. That ain't
I'm in
right.
I'm in northern New Jersey, about a half hour from the Pennsylvania border,
Yep.
and I'm a little bit up in elevation, so we do get a little bit more. We're not in the Pocono Mountains quite yet,
Right.
but I've driven up to New York for New York Bass Federation like awards dinners in January, and I've driven through some pretty gnarly snowstorms. And one time, it was a while back, I owned a Tundra, and lucky for me that had and I will thank, I'm not a big Toyota guy, I have a GMC now, but um, I will thank Toyota for their wonderful traction control because it saved my life.
Wow.
We were driving home and we were coming up on a overpass, and me and my John, Greg Pavlik, right?
Yep. Yep.
He's in your town, I believe.
Used to be.
Waterloo.
Yep.
Oh, you're
I
not
don't
there
think
anymore?
No, I am. I don't think he is.
Yeah, he's in Waterloo.
Is he?
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely.
oh, dang.
Yep. Yeah, you guys are neighbors. Well, anyway, he was in the passenger side, and we were driving home, and we go under this, approaching an overpass, and we see a car in the ditch off to the left. And just as I was saying, "Oh man, that guy crashed," all of a sudden we got underneath the overpass, and it was ice. And
Ooh.
the whole truck just started shimmying, and I
Ooh.
felt the traction control actually working like independently from wheel to
Yeah.
wheel. And all I did was just hang on to my steering wheel, and we kept going straight. And like I said, we would have smashed right into that guy if that hadn't
Yeah.
happened. So,
Wow.
but yeah, that was what they call the pucker factor was pretty high on that one.
Oh, I hear you.
Yeah. I've been there before.
Yep.
Okay. So
Do you want to dive into any? Oh, come on
go
down.
ahead.
Yep.
I was gonna say, do you want to dive into just the type of stuff that I do for people, or did we already
Yeah,
Yeah.
talk
yeah.
about that?
Yep. No.
No, no, go
I
go in
was
detail. Yeah.
I was about to say we're at that point.
All right. Well, I mean, basically, I started this as a side company several years ago when John, do you remember Chris Flint?
Yes.
Yeah, he was a police officer up in
Yep.
Waddington, and he retired down to Gunnersville. He's a fishing guide down there, but he ended up coming out of retirement and joined the police force down there again because I guess he just, he was bored and he missed it.
Maybe
But
Jen didn't want to be around him.
nah, those two are inseparable. Yeah.
I
So,
know they are.
but anyway, long story short is, he knew me back when I was doing Fish Lines magazine and doing all the writing and everything and the layout for the magazine. And he just approached me and he goes at one of the functions and he goes, Tom, he goes, you know what you should do? He goes, you should really start doing professional resumes for fishermen. Because he goes, you know how many guys I know that just really don't know how to do it. Maybe they're not good at writing, or they just don't, know how to put something together like that. He goes, you should really start to think about, doing that for people because it seems to be there's a need for it.
Yeah.
So I just happen to have this weird skill set. I have a journalism background. I did a lot of writing. I have graphic design, been in the printing and marketing industry for 32 years now. And I'm a competitive tournament angler. So those three things kind of, make me a little bit of a, unicorn when it comes to, putting stuff together for people. So one of my very first clients was Elite Pro Jamie Hartman.
Yeah.
And it was right when he qualified for the elites, and he literally, I think we had 5 days to put his whole package together, which is a pretty small amount of time. But we were able to do it, and we got it off to his people. I guess Lowrance, I think, basically was like, all right, you're ours now. They were
Yeah.
just like, yeah, they were like, don't worry about anything, you're ours now. And also Bass Pro Shops and Nitro, he already had an in with, but we had to get all those people, all his stats and his resume and everything. So he was one of my very first clients. And then a handful of the guys from the New York Bass Federation, once word got out, and then I decided to put the website together. And most of my clientele, yeah, it's about 50-50 website, searches and word of mouth.
Yeah.
But what I try to do is I don't charge, exorbitant fees. I try to make it affordable for everybody. And really what I get my most satisfaction out of is basically equipping people with the necessary tools in order to get themselves noticed and, basically expand or progress their fishing career. So, my job is to make them, look as good as possible with the materials that we have at the time and their accomplishments that they have at the time. So, clearly, resume is like usually the starting point. I write what I call, a persuasive uh, cover letter. Sometimes we interject, humor in it. Sometimes, somebody does something um, that, like I have a recent client from Ohio. He happens to be a Snap-on tool guy, because they're all
Yeah.
independently owned
Yep.
trucks. And so I think one of the things in his letter that we said was, I have the right tool for the job. And
Yeah.
because
Right.
he's in sales and
Yeah.
he owns a tool, a tool
Yep.
truck, so it's little things like that. We just try to make them, unique. Um, so that was kind of fun, to work with him on that. And but again, I like to get I can do as little or as much as a client wants to do. I have packages up on my website. I didn't originally have them up there because I don't like to, let's just say, force people, into one specific package or not. I mean, you
Yeah.
could probably find it at other websites. They do something similar. But what just started happening was that I got asked so many times, all right, how much for this? How much for that? and everybody gets charged differently. It's the same hourly rate, but some people come to me with a resume already, and that alone saves a lot of time. Even if their wife or their girlfriend typed it out, it still saves a lot of time.
Yeah.
And so it really just comes down to how many let's just say components they want to create. Sometimes we'll do a letter and a resume for somebody, and then they'll come back to me a week later and they'll be like, oh, you know what? I need a proposal now because they asked me, hey, what are you looking for?
Yeah.
So things like that happen on a regular basis. I also do, I think I mentioned earlier, a page where it's a, truck wrap and boat wrap where, just basically outlines the different sections of the, where they can quote unquote purchase real
Yeah.
estate on their vehicle or their boat, or their jersey, whatever it may be. And I think I even said I've even done PowerPoint slides for one guy who was on the MLF series a couple years back. And what was nice about that was I was able to utilize some of the presentation materials. A lot of the big tours, they'll hand out a package to every angler at the beginning of the season or over the winter or wherever it may be. And it's all about basically defining their brand and, what their goals of the, circuit is and everything. It's basically just an advertising piece.
Okay.
And in his case, I was able to incorporate a lot of the stats and the coverage, that was gained in that PowerPoint presentation, and it worked out great. So, and I really, I just went with his color scheme, um, and everything worked out really good on that. I do business cards for people. I do brochures. Have a good number of fishing guides who have used me, um, and I've got catfish people. I've got walleye people. I got tons of bass people. So, it's pretty wide gamut of folks that I work with, but it's really kind of cool. I actually have worked with some tackle companies too. The catfish guy actually started his own rod company because he wasn't happy with the stuff that it was available for catfish
Yeah.
competition. And so I was fortunate enough to write all the copy for his website.
Cool.
So that was a lot of fun. Yeah, and I got to work hand in hand with his website developer, and they made it really easy for me. They gave me a login, and it looked, looked like it was a lot of, code and stuff like that, but it was very
Yeah.
easy to figure out where I needed to insert, the copy. So that was a lot of fun, and that was a different project, and that was really cool for me. And one of the things that I don't mention a lot that I also do is um, people don't realize that, Facebook especially um, has, your profile photo and your background image.
Yeah.
And if you look at my personal one, like I've created a nice one that is the exact specs for Facebook, and it has all the logos of the people that I work with on it, and also
Cool.
has my name on it. So I can do custom profile pictures and backgrounds for people on social media. So that's another aspect of what I do. So I think I kind of covered
Oh
everything,
yeah.
but
Pretty close.
You did. You
yeah.
did.
So
Good overview.
Yeah.
and I also will contract printing if anybody needs it. I have a couple of online companies I use for business cards and brochures and such. So um, John, you probably remember Brian Eish.
Yep.
He does a lot of. He was a wounded veteran,
Yep.
uh, and
Moved back to Green Bay.
he did,
Yep.
and he does a lot of. Uh, God, what's the term? Motivational speaking.
Yep.
And he actually needed an autograph card because he had that movie on Netflix. And
Yep.
so I put together his autograph card for him, and I had them printed and shipped out to him. And I think he even ordered another batch of them because he went through so many of them. So,
Wow. That's
Yeah.
cool.
yep. So, I mean, I kind of do, the gamut, a lot of anglers don't realize that, you can have the equivalent of a baseball card, if you want to hand out to people. And again, not too many people do that. So that's another unique thing that, somebody might consider doing.
Yes. Have one other question here for you.
Yep.
Oh, Andrew wants to know, do you help with YouTube intro videos or graphics?
Well, the answer to that is I have been dying to get into more video over the last 3 years, and I have some decent video equipment, and I just have not had the time to really get down and learn it well. I mean, I even have Adobe Premiere, which is a good editing program to work with that. The answer is if he needed somebody to do, let's just say, like an opening graphic or something like that, whether it be a like a JPEG file or whatever format that he needs it in, I could convert it to. The answer is yes. I could, like your Co-Anglers Corner logo, something along those lines. I'd be happy to help out with that. And I could easily find out, what the size and the spec needs to be for that. But as far as doing the video right now, that's just something I've been really, really wanting to learn, but just due to time and commitments, I just haven't had time to do it.
I have an idea.
What's
How about this summer? How about this summer? You bring your boat up. We'll practice videos.
Hey, there you go.
Hey,
Well,
I'm 15 minutes from Cayuga.
Oh, I know you are. I go to
And
Waterloo. I go to Waterloo twice a year and fish with Greg Pavlik. So
Oh, do
we
you?
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Nice.
we usually hit Cayuga or Honeyoo.
Yep.
Actually, we've
The
even
land of
gone.
small fish.
Yeah, we've even gone to what's the bay that's due north on Ontario?
Sodas?
Yes. Yeah, we've even gone
I'm
there.
sitting here
So,
going,
yep. Yep. Yeah. So I usually go out. He was basically my best friend before he retired up there. He was the tournament director in my club, and we just hit it off. And we traveled the New York Bass Nation circuit for 10 years together. Me being a boater and him being a non-boater. And then when he retired, unfortunately, his mom passed away, but he was able to get the profit from the sale of her home, and he finally got a nice skeeter. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, so I mean, it was used, but it was still a nice boat. And
Yeah.
so now he's loving life up there. He's retired. He's fishing. He's going to the gun range. He's just loving it. He's also a fine artist, and he does a lot of painting.
Oh,
So,
cool.
so
oh, I
yeah,
didn't know that about Tom.
Greg, yeah,
Greg.
and yeah, so he actually does exhibitions up there, up in the Finger Lakes area.
Nice.
Yeah,
Huh.
so I've been to Waterloo a number of times. So,
Oh, I know you have. Okay. Well, Tom, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it. You've definitely helped me along the way, whether you know it or not.
oh, that's great. That's great to hear.
Especially with the writing stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I have a lot of value added things that I like. One of the things that I tell people is our relationship, like the people I work with, our relationship doesn't end with an invoice. I can't tell you how many times I get texts or emails or phone calls from guys that maybe have a deal on the table and they need some advice, about how to approach it or how to negotiate it. Or like say, I had one high school angler whose mom basically handled, his whole resume and letter and everything. And the kid, he was like tearing it up on the water. And it seemed like, every 2 weeks he had a new accomplishment to add. And so she wanted to have that on his resume. So I have a 10-minute rule. If it takes me 10 minutes or less, I don't charge for it. So, if it just means, adding some type, any major changes, of course, is
Yeah.
billable.
Yeah.
But so, like I said, I do a lot of stuff that doesn't show on the books. It's like I like to help people out. I like to offer advice. I've done some consulting with people who are going to start a new tackle company. I've helped people with public speaking when they get up to the microphone at tournaments. Because I actually get guys that are like kind of shy and they're like, dude,
Yeah.
what do I say up there? And I always tell everybody, when you're in line with that bag, hopefully you got 5 good ones, but when
Yep.
you're in line, think of something interesting to say when you get up there. How many times you guys watch footage, you're like, oh yeah, they really weren't biting very well out there. Today was a tough day. Think of something else,
Yep.
point out the funny
Something
hat that
positive.
point out the funny hat that the dude's wearing or something like that, just think of something unique to say that is memorable to people. And I always tell everybody, rule number 1, take your sunglasses off.
Yeah.
Take your sunglasses off, hang them on your shirt, put them on your head. When people can't see your eyes, it's a lot harder for them to recognize your face. And if you want that
Yep.
recognition factor, do your best to remember to take your sunglasses off.
Yep.
Absolutely. Good point.
Yep.
Excellent. I think we should end it right there.
Okay.
With a great point. So thanks for coming on, Tom. I'm sure we'll be in touch.
Well, it was
throughout the year.
absolutely a pleasure. You guys are always great to talk to, and I appreciate you letting me flap my gums for a while.
Hey,
Oh man, we
not a
always
problem.
enjoy it, man. You always break it down and bring a bunch of juice, man. We always learn from you, so we appreciate you.
That's great, and it's my pleasure. And you guys are super cool for what you're doing with this podcast, and especially the fact that you give co-anglers so much time. I think that means a lot to people, especially when tours now are actually cutting out co-anglers from their tours. So props to both of you for
Appreciate
keeping the faith and investing your time in the co-angler.
Definitely.
Appreciate it, sir.
Yep.
Well, you take care and be safe.
Thank you. You guys too.
All right. Thanks, Tom.
Bye-bye.
Anytime.
All right.
All right.
Wow, man. He always brings it, man. That was great.
If you didn't get anything out of that video, don't try to be a sponsorship. He basically just laid out the whole plan for you.
I mean,
You know,
top to
go
bottom,
back and-
man.
Yep. Go back to rewatch this video. Pretend like you're back in the 70s and 80s, hitting that cassette recorder to record them. Just keep hitting it.
Sharpen that pencil up.
Yeah. My pencil's always dull, so I'll have to maybe I'll have Xander watch it for me.
Oh, there you go. She'll take good notes.
Yep. Trust me, she's already telling me how to do stuff.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah.
Hey, Andrew, you have a good weekend too, buddy. Good
Yes,
seeing you.
you take care, be safe. Enjoy that nice cold weather down there in Florida.
Yeah, and if you get tired of it, I'll trade wherever we, because I got like 6, 8, or 10 inches of snow coming Wednesday.
Good for you. I'm so proud of you.
I know.
You're
It's
taking it
unbelievable.
you're taking it like a champ.
I got floods this weekend and a winter storm middle of the week. So
You'll be ice skating.
yeah,
Time
probably.
to gonna get your tip
I got-
ups out.
Yeah, I got a field full of water, so that will be an ice rink very shortly.
There you go. All right, folks. Well, y'all take care. Have a great weekend.
Hey, and you said y'all. Ooh, I'm impressed. It's working. Now I got to send you some grits. and then you'll be good.
You mean I have to supply my own salt and pepper and butter?
Yep.
Oh man,
You'll be all right.
I'll figure it out. All right.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
you guys take care.
Peace out.